Enroll your child for the manifested e-learning platform and see their grades grow tremendously. These videos can be downloaded to a laptop for offline viewing or viewed from a smartphone in a course-friendly format.
Hello learners, and welcome to today's learning session. The subject is science and the topic is animals. In our today's lesson, we will continue from where we stopped. This is the third lesson. In the last two lessons, learners, this is what we have learned. I'm going to give a small recap of what we have been doing under science. The subject, the topic is animals. Animals. Learners, in the last two lessons, we classified animals. In lesson 1, we classified animals into two vertebrates and invertebrates. Learners, we learned that vertebrates are animals with backbones. Invertebrates are animals without backbones. Then we went further in the second lesson to classify vertebrates into 4 classes or groups. We learned that vertebrates can be classified into 5 groups. The first group is mammals. We learned that mammals fall under the category of vertebrates. Then we mentioned birds, number 2. Number 3, reptiles, amphibians, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and lastly, fish. These are the groups under vertebrates. Then in our last lesson, we also learned that vertebrates whose blood temperature does not change when the temperature of the surrounding changes are known as the warm-blooded animals. Warm-blooded animals. These are vertebrates whose blood temperature does not change when the temperature of the surrounding changes. We say that they can keep warm even when the surrounding is cold. We gave an example of human beings. We also learned that vertebrates that have blood whose temperature changes when the temperature of the surrounding changes, such vertebrates we said are known as cold-blooded animals. We say that the cold-blooded animals, cold-blooded animals, learners, we say that they get cold when the environment is cold and get hot when the environment is hot, meaning that their temperature, their body temperature, the blood temperature of these animals is the same as that of the surrounding. That's what we've learned in the last 2 lessons, just in brief. Then at the end of every lesson, I gave you assignment. I gave you revision questions, which I hope you have done. Learners, make sure you do your assignment. Before coming to this class, make sure the previous assignment has been done, because at the end of this lesson, I'll also give you revision questions. In our today's lesson, learners, we want to look at the different classification of mammals and their characteristics of mammals. Then we will also, in other lesson, we will discuss or learn the characteristics of birds. Then in another lesson, we learn the characteristics of reptiles. We will also do the same for amphibians and fish. Amphibians and fish. So we cannot do all that in one lesson. In our today's lesson, we want to focus our attention on mammals. What are the characteristics of mammals? That's what we are going to do in our today's lesson. In our today's lesson, under the topic animals, we want to learn the characteristics of mammals. 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 Characteristics of mammals. Characteristics of mammals. So learners, you can write down the main characteristics of mammals are, the main characteristics of mammals are A. The first characteristic of mammals, learners, is that they are warm-blooded. They are what? Mammals are warm-blooded. They are warm-blooded. I just explained the meaning of warm-blooded, learners. Warm-blooded. We say that warm-blooded animals are animals whose body or blood temperature does not change with change in the surrounding. Their blood temperature does not change with the change in their surrounding. So mammals are warm-blooded. They are not affected by change in the surrounding because their bodies can regulate the temperature. Okay, so when it is cold in the environment, that does not affect their blood temperature. So they are warm-blooded. That is point number one. Number two, learners, they have what we call mammary glands. Mammary glands. They have mammary glands. They have mammary glands. What is the purpose of mammary glands? These mammary glands, learners, produce milk. Okay, they produce milk and suckle their young ones. This milk, they produce milk and suckle their young ones. That's the second characteristic of mammals. Learners have said the second characteristic is that they have mammary glands. They have mammary glands which produce milk, that produce milk, that produce milk and suckle their young ones. I know you have seen some of these mammals. You've seen human beings, they have mammary glands. You have seen cows, you have seen goats, you've seen donkeys, name them. They do what? They have mammary glands that produce milk, so their young ones suckle. Okay, they suckle because they have milk. That is the second characteristic. Okay, the second characteristic. Then the third characteristic is that the body the body is covered with hair or fur. Hair or fur, F-U-R. Their bodies are covered with hair or fur. Hair or fur. If you look at mammals like human beings, they have hairy skin. There is hair on the skin. If you look at mammals like cows, goats, they have fur, okay? They have fur on their skin. So mammals either have hair, their bodies is covered with hair or fur. That is the third characteristic of mammals. Okay? Then learners, number 4, we are learning about the characteristics of what? Of mammals. Characteristic of mammals. We can also say, learners, they give birth to young ones. They give birth. They give birth to young ones. They give birth to young ones. You've seen human beings, mothers carrying young ones. I know you've also seen cows with young ones. Goats have young ones. They give birth. They do what? They give birth. That is how they reproduce, by giving birth. There are other animals that don't give birth, but they lay eggs. We'll be looking at those that lay eggs. But these ones reproduce, mammals reproduce by giving birth. By giving birth. So these are the characteristics of mammals. Learners, the first characteristic is that they are warm-blooded. Number 2, they have mammary glands that produce milk and suckle their young ones. 3, their bodies are covered with either hair or fur. 4, they give birth to young ones. They give birth to young ones. So these are 4 characteristics of mammals. 4 characteristics of mammals. So today, learners, we've studied the characteristics of mammals. I want you to go through this lesson again, then you answer this revision question. This is your today's revision. State 4 characteristics of mammals. Go through the lesson, then close your book. After closing your book, answer this revision question. State 4 characteristics of mammals. So learners, that will mark the end of our today's lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to study classification of mammals. Thank you for attending our today's lesson, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.
Manifested Publishers Limited is a research and teaching center that specializes in the production of learning materials and private online tuition for primary, secondary, tertiary, and university education. Sign up as a new customer at www.manifestedpublishers.com. Fill in the